We had a few hiccups along the way, but on this episode we'll be running through the process of removing the M57 from the engine bay of the BMW X5. And this is a sneak peek of the colour I've chosen for the engine bay as well. So far you haven't missed much. I've just been yanking out bits and pieces to open up the engine bay to get more access to different bits and pieces. Once that's done, I'll probably drain the coolant and then take off some of the electricals. Given I don't have a hoist, it's going to be either using the engine crane to pull it out or potentially using a forklift to lift this boy up. We'll see how I go getting everything out. I don't know how much room there is to pull it up. I reckon there'll be plenty, but if there's not, we have a backup plan.
Get down in the car, and give it all. Bust it open hard, let me see you job. Get down in the car, and give it all. Bust it open.
One thing I have found quite interesting about the M57s and just the whole modern car in general is how much stuff and how much plastic they put in that gets in the way of everything. Like, we've now, after, I don't know, 20 minutes or so, gotten all the plastic and shit out of the way, that gets it into a position that's sort of similar to what the Patrol is from stock. There's a lot going on here. Too much for my little old brain. I'm confused. Oh yeah.
Let me see you job. I fucked up this Russell, yeah, we hustle, but the oh my.
Alright, so, long story short, I've worked out that the best way to pull this engine and transmission out is going to be through the bottom. So my plan is to undo everything from the bottom, drop out the subframe, and then lift the body off the top with a forklift. So could be a little bit sketchy, but we'll see how it goes. In terms of the bottom, there's a couple of these sort of plates that run along for protection. So I just went through, pulled them all off, and now I'll have to take off the suspension parts to allow the subframe to separate from the body. So I've taken the left side wheel off, and I'll show you through that now. So essentially, I'm going to be pulling out everything from the suspension that is attached to the frame. So the main ones being the control arm suspension. CV seems to be somewhat attached, so I'll pull that all out too. Yeah, so we'll see how that goes. And then once that's all done, I'll go underneath the car, where underneath the car there's several bolts attached to the subframe to the body of the car, so I'll have to pull those out once it's on jack stands, and then I'll try and lift it out. But I do also have a fair bit of work in the engine bay as well. I'm still yet to go through and remove a lot of these coolant lines and all that sort of stuff as well. I gotta say, one thing I don't mind is these clips. They seem to be a lot less likely to get seized as well. So here is where all the ECU is. So there's a lot of wires coming into it, and a lot of wires going out of it. It's pretty straightforward to pull apart and disconnect and everything. The main thing is to remember, don't cut anything that you don't know what it is. For my particular use case, Fusion Fab don't want you to cut absolutely anything. So I'll be quite careful in pulling all this out, making sure I don't cut anything, don't nick anything, all that sort of jazz. A lot of fun squiggly wires. So there's a couple of Allen key screws through here. So I'm just going to pull those out, and that will give me room to pull the loom out to get some far. Well, never getting that back. Look, I wouldn't say that went smoothly, but it's out, and none of the wires are cut, so that's a good start. So it's now quite some time into the future, and we've just received our ECU back from Fusion Fab. The ECU, or the engine control unit, is effectively the engine's brain. It constantly reads all the data from all your sensors, including like your fuel pressure, your airflow, your air to fuel mix, your crank sensor, all those sort of things, and it is able to adapt and tune how much airflow goes into the engine and how much fuel gets put in. And through that, the ECU is able to make the engine run smoothly and efficiently. By sending it off to a company like Fusion Fab, we're able to turn off the immobilizer. So when it's in the BMW, it's immobilized until it registers the key into the ignition. But when we're doing a conversion, we remove the whole dash, so there's no ability to put the key in, and we use a different dash which isn't compatible with the ECU. So we turn the immobilizer off, and at the same time, Fusion Fab are also able to remap the ECU. So we're altering the amount of fuel we're putting in, the amount of boost, and that's able to give us more power across a range that's better for a big four-wheel drive than a relatively small luxury SUV. With the remap, we're able to increase the horsepower to about the 300 horsepower mark, and that's to the crank. Anyway, back to the video. Another wonderful tip as well, instead of bending all your screwdrivers, these tools are absolutely fantastic for just prying little bits of plastic up to move things around. I'll just go through, unplug all these clips. Oh, a little fuse box. Gee, that's a cool way of doing it. And this is the ECU finally out. So it seems like from that ECU, there's two main wiring looms. The first of which seems to run through and must do all of the engine harness. And then the second one comes back and then down into the body. So I'm not too sure where that one goes, but I think I'll leave it until after the engine's out. Once there's a bit more space around, it'll be a bit easier to maneuver around. The next steps will be to undo all the hoses that are left over. Then I'll crack onto doing the suspension and then unbolt the subframe. I probably should remove the battery. Oh fuck, I should have done it ages ago. Holy shit, that's dangerous. Fuck me, that was dumb as. This is literally my first time ever owning a car that has had the battery in the rear of the vehicle. Alrighty, negative terminal is off. So we should be all good from electrocuting ourselves. There's just so much going on. So it starts out with a little computery thing there. And then there's wires that run all the way along to the battery. It's just ridiculous. I've never had this much going on in a battery before. Alrighty. Now, since our last wonderful update, I had a couple of arguments. One with our thermo fans, which I have fortunately won. So that's all out. Pulled out the radiator as well, just to get a bit more eyesight onto what's going on below the whole front part. So it appears like everything's all disconnected on the front portion and the right hand side. The only thing I'm not too sure about is potentially the whole steering column. I might need to disconnect that, might not really too sure. So next plan of attack, remove the right hand wheel, already pulled off the left hand one, and then pull off all of the suspension components that are attaching the, yes, this one, the subframe to the body. And then we'll see if we can pull it off with the forklift. Yes, forklift certified.
I fucked up this hustle, day we hustle, but then oh my. What is my guns? Know that they fly, know that they ride or die.
Alright, so we finally got all the suspension parts out, which means that there's only a few things to do now. So my next part was to take off the exhaust. I was going to take off the dump, but it looks a bit easier to just take off the whole exhaust and drop the back part down, which is the only part that's actually connected. Drop the back part down onto the floor and maybe put like a little mat down or something. And then undo the rear tail shaft. All suspension parts are all out. All the ones we need to anyway. The last few things we need to do before we lift the car up is to take out the bolts that attach the subframe to the car, remove the exhaust, and what else do we need to do? There was one more thing. Take out the tail shaft as well, and then we'll lift up the old girl, and hopefully we've taken everything apart that we need to. Fingers crossed. So I've just gone through and cracked all the bolts loose on all of the subframe, but there's one little shit. So first step will be trying to heat that bad boy up. Oh, fucking Christ. Holy shit. That is genuinely fucked. I'm just gonna have to cut it out. That's bullshit. I cracked it to start with and did maybe like a few spins, and it kind of just got progressively harder and harder and harder to turn. So it shouldn't be too hard to cut, but fuck, it's just so hard to turn.
Get down in the car, one time give it all, bust it open hard.
All right, so after quite some time of battling out just things that shouldn't have been a problem. I think everything's unbolted now, so it's almost night time. It's the last of the light, so I'm gonna try and pick this bastard up. All right, sweet. Oh. All right, I'm just gonna go get out and check it. But fuck yeah, the engine did not move at all. Fuck yeah. No, I've done my job well, I think. Holy fuck. I fucked up here. I should have put a ratchet around that to keep it secure. I'll ratchet one from here to the front. Try and secure it that way, I reckon. I'm glad it's recording. That's so close. I don't know if it's gonna get better if I try and start driving forwards. Oh, fuck. I'm just gonna try and tilt it back. I thought that's gonna make it worse. Holy shit, this is stressful as. Like, I've got clearance over everything, but there's two wires that are attached still, and that's like holding on by a fucking thread. I just try and see if I can pull it even. I'm in two minds about whether I lower it down or not, because if I lower it down, then I'm gonna have to lift it up again. And it might slip more if I lift it up more. I also think that I've fucking left the parking brake on, and that's why it's not rolling back at all, which is probably not a bad thing, but it means it's gonna be really, really hard to move this thing away from the engine and set it down. I am such an idiot. That was the only way I felt somewhat safe taking those wires off. Holy shit. Well look, where it's in now, if I try and hook it, it's not gonna wanna go the other way. So I think I'll just try and hook it with a ratchet strap and then try not to fuck everything up anymore, I guess. The strangest part is that I'm usually the safe one. The second that Harry's not here, my brother, that's when shit goes wrong. All right, this is working. All right. Now I don't want to crank that too hard in case it fucking flies into my face. But now that's there, I'm going to tilt it towards the cab in a hope that that doesn't make it worse. Ooh. I don't know what I'm going to do. The handbrake's on. Holy shit, I've fucked up on so many levels here. My plan is to put some chocks behind the wheel. And I can kick that out, spin her around, and just set it down there. But in the meantime, I'm gonna have to get into the car. Oh, this feels sketchy. Temporarily put the electrics back on. All right, lights are on, that's good. All right, I'm out of the car. I'm gonna have to put my foot on, or my hand on the brake. All right, parking brake is on. Can't take it off. All right, it might be off. It's got an orange light, but it's not red anymore. I should have taken that exhaust out too, because now it's getting down up on that as well. All right, Now, my apologies if I haven't been explaining things very well, but I'm, as you can imagine, a little touch stressed, hey? So, long story short, I believe that the muffler on here, well, like the muffler and exhaust, is getting caught, and that might be part of the reason why it's not wanting to move. So I might just cut off the whole rear bumper. I reckon that's a good plan. All right, let's do this. You big, beautiful bastard. Holy shit, we did it. Fuck yes. The engine's safe at least. All right, so the exhaust, I reckon is gonna be a bit fucked, but a good price to pay for salvation. Now, I've got an idea. So I've set up 2 tires, one on either side of, one for each sill, and it'll just rest on that. Hopefully that way I don't fuck up the exhaust any more than I've already had to, because I've already cut it in half. But this way the exhaust won't get crushed, because I'll show you what it's like at the moment. Because the exhaust is currently bent, I had to cut it with a recip saw. But if I put it down directly onto the exhaust, it'll just bend the shit out of it. I don't know what the back's going to be like, so I'll just put these 2 tires down and then slowly lower the forklift onto it. We're so close to touchdown, but the car's just getting stuck on the forklift, just on the corner there. Just getting a little bit caught there, so I'll have to readjust slightly, but I'll need to put some more fuel in first. Hear her purr. Fucking hell. Whoa! Fuck, I need to redo my accreditation, I reckon. Alright, well we're in a good enough spot that we can lower it now. Now rearrange the tyres, put the girl down, and we'll assess the damage after that. Touchdown! Jesus, that was stressful as, man. Well, I'm gonna take you for a little tour. Finally got the old girl out. We had a few hiccups along the way, but we had some fun, didn't we? In some good news though, the engine's out. So I've had a quick look around. The only concerns I really have for the moment is a bit of oil, well, quite a lot of oil on the crankcase breather. And there's also a fair bit of oil, it looks like, on the rear of the engine, potentially where the intake connects to the crankcase. So I'll have to take some things off to get a better look, and also do some research, because my understanding of mechanics is not the world's best. But it mostly looks like it's in pretty good condition. It drove really nicely before I took it out as well. So the next job on the list will be to take off the engine loom and then send that off with my patrol engine loom to Fusion Fab, where it's going to get all put together and into a plug and play kit for me. And that concludes the second episode of our conversion. So I hope you found that somewhat enjoyable. If you did, leave a comment below. If you have any questions, also just drop a comment below and I'll do my best to answer all of them. In the next fortnight's episode, we'll be running you guys through the teardown process of the M57 engine and running through the timing chain replacement process. After that, we'll be doing the engine bay paint, showing you how that all works. And then hopefully we'll be getting onto the fun bits, bolting all the engine back together again, putting it in the car and getting it to run maybe. Thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed.
I fucked up this hustle, we hustle, but the